just a few things about us. As Amanda alluded to, we've been around since 2010. We're a media company that does a lot of different things. We publish magazines. That's probably what we're most well known for because we've done that the longest. But about half of our business comes from doing content both on websites and across distribution channels for other companies. And so in that way, we're pretty diversified. So why is social media important in a time like this? In a little bit, I'm going to review a study that outfit called Social Bakers did here recently, and it's one of our vendors, and they go over some of the stats on what's happened with this coronavirus and how people have leaned on social media for communications. It's pretty incredible. And then, how are the interactions of coronavirus and some of the things that you can do in your organization to help build your organic reach of your post. We'll go over that. I already talked about the Social Bakers COVID-19 report. And then Morgan's going to go over 7 ways to kind of stay ahead of the COVID-19 pandemic on social media. And then at the end, I'm going to go over some local businesses which you'll recognize and what they're doing as kind of best practices. And now the other thing is we just kind of stuck with Instagram and Facebook for today. Certainly Facebook is the most utilized of any of the social media platforms. But literally, if you start expanding something like this to LinkedIn and some of the Twitter and some of the others, you could be here all day. So we just have Facebook and Instagram today. So let's go to the next slide. We talked about that. That's all the stuff we do. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so 2.5 billion social media users on mobile alone. Obviously, we all know it's a huge audience, but they're using the social media apps while they're sheltering at home, stay entertained, stay informed, get their news from there. Certainly, businesses are using email and social media more right now. I'm going to talk about some of the national brands or international brands have done in this here in a minute, and how the local brands have and you use it to build awareness. Of course, keep yourself up to date, and then engagement and education is critical. All right, looking at this slide, guys, what this shows is an Instagram slide, and it's the date March 1st to March 26th. What this is measuring are international brands. And interestingly enough, if you'd have just asked me before I learned this, how would international brands do during a time like this on social media? And I would think their numbers would be through the roof, right? Not at all. In fact, only a couple countries have shown growth. In the US, almost a 14% decrease in the traffic that the brands are, the international brands like Pepsi, Coke, you know the international brands are getting on Instagram. Go to the next slide. Facebook, same situation. In the US, almost a 7% decrease March 1st to March 26th, year to year for these international brands. So where did all the readership go that used to be going to these international brands? Go to the next slide. Well, it went to the coronavirus. Take a look at this. With the total interactions of the coronavirus content on Facebook and Instagram, let me scroll down here. It skyrocketed between the first of the month and the middle of the month. Around March 16th is when Disney started closing their parks and the stores, and we had 155 cases of coronavirus in Florida at that time. And Ron DeSantis, our governor, was waiting on the CDC for more guidance, and we hadn't quite issued the shutdown of the bars and restaurants and that, but it was happening elsewhere in the country, and so there was a huge influx of readership on Facebook and Instagram, and it's amazing how it kind of sucked the air out of the room for those international brands. Go to the next slide, please. All right, so obviously it was more popular on the coronavirus topics were more popular on Facebook than Instagram, and what we drew away from that is people would go to Facebook for news and updates, and Instagram was really kind of a place that people would go to get away from COVID-19 news and updates. But March 16th was one of the biggest days ever in terms of posts on Facebook, over 11,000 posts. Go to the next one. All right, so what did some of these well-known brands do to help their cause? Really, one of the things that they've done is they do good. All right, so Ambev, they started making hygienic alcohol and distributing them to hospitals, Home Bargains, and Screwball whiskey. They started donating money to employees who are out of work and helping with others who have been furloughed. If you go on American Airlines, and I'm going to talk about this later on, but you will see post after post after post of what they are doing to help this situation. Smart move and the right thing to do. Go to the next one. All right, so tactically, some of the things that you can do in your post, just so you know, we all use hashtags in our posts. We know it's an effective tactic to build organic reach and traffic to your pages. But here's the top performing ones, straight from Social Bakers on the ones to use to get even more reach. And so there they are. That's kind of an inside baseball. At least you'll walk away from this knowing to use those hashtags. Next slide. So airlines, some of the top industries on Instagram and Facebook talking about the virus on social media were these sectors, and the airlines is the highest industry of all of them, who's been hit really hard by the pandemic. The TSA reported last week that the reduction in airport traffic is down 96% to a year ago. 96%. No lines at the TSA. That's the one positive thing about this. So go to the next slide. All right. According to Social Bakers, millions scrambled to get answers from brands, though, particularly national and regional and local brands. So you can see there where Airlines had almost 2,000 posts, and they had a median post interaction of 147. Incredible. People were going to the airlines pages to kind of see what was going on. So go to the next slide. All right. Okay, so if you take a look at the emotions of the coronavirus, now this is really cool because we all use Facebook, and you can love stuff, you can like it, you can put the different icons on it now. Well, Social Bakers measures this stuff, and so when you look at the brands communicating coronavirus, you can see right around the 9th how it started to increase and is up to a regular post for when they put something about how they're helping with the coronavirus in their post. So good tactical move. You can see here that it's paying off for them. All right, Next slide. All right, so with that, I'm going to pass the baton off here to Morgan. She's going to go over 7 ways to help during the coronavirus. Then we'll come back and I'll go over what some local people are doing. So go ahead, Morgan.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about 7 ways for your business to stay ahead during the coronavirus outbreak. You can go to the next slide. So number 1, utilize networking to find leads and customers. So build your network of prospective clients and partners right from your home. Data mining through social media, Google search, referrals, organizational memberships, etc. Are ways to do that. And a popular platform that many people use is LinkedIn. You can connect and generate leads and relationships with new potential customers and clients on LinkedIn and all those other resources. And it shows how your business can stay ahead and stay on top of everything, as well as improve your brand awareness, positive word of mouth, and meeting prospects' needs and values. Okay, you can go to the next. So number 2 is to adapt your services to the current situation. So brainstorm creative ways to deliver your product or services, which many people are probably already doing now with the coronavirus. So for example, restaurants, you can do online mobile order, curbside pickup, delivery, and have coupons for different specials. For retail, you can online order and have free shipping or mobile pickup. And different payment methods you can use to keep social distancing is order and pay online, as well as using PayPal and Venmo to deliver money. And then to drive repeat business and purchases, you can offer discounts, incentives, free monthly or weekly subscriptions to stay ahead of the competition and also stay relevant. And then whenever possible, just look for ways to remove those friction points between your product and service and to the customer. Okay, number 3, you can market solutions with the coronavirus in mind. So you can create a flexible and adaptive marketing to let your target audience know that you're still open and attending to their needs. And also have a business strategy plan for a path forward as the situation improves, because things may not go back to how they used to be before the outbreak happened. And then also maintain social distancing even after things do improve. An example would be because stay-at-home practices may lead consumers to utilize more online and digital opportunities at home as the new norm or alternative for how people shopped and consumed before the outbreak happened. Number 4, identify the challenges and solutions to your business. So start by making a list of the different challenges your business is facing right now and may face in the future. And then you can strategize with the team for different scenarios or yourself for possible solutions. But the more people you have brainstorming, the more ideas you generate. And then consider all the challenges that could arise, whether it's from your supply chain, communication, both internal and external, customer engagement, and increased competition. And then have a plan in place now and get that ready so you can avoid being unprepared in the future. And number 5 is to use alternative solutions for daily operations. So instead of canceling future business plans, events, or trips, you can brainstorm different ways to still keep those going. So for example, Zoom, like we're doing right now, you can have meetings, events, and webinars, as well as FaceTime, Skype, and freeconferencecall.com. And another alternative example would be like doctor's office and vets. So I had this happen to me the other day. When I went to the vet, I sat in the car and I just called the office when I arrived for my appointment, and then the vet or nurse came out to get me, and it just ensures social distance practices. And then number 6 is to implement technology upgrades. Oh, yep. Implement technology upgrades. Make sure your communication remains as efficient as possible, and use these online platforms because phone calls and chats aren't enough. So for example, video conferencing, like I mentioned, Zoom and Skype, it shows your face-to-face interactions to give you an idea about people's body language, tone, expressions, rather phone calls where it's hard to do that in text. And then you can do e-blasts and e-newsletters and use resources like MailChimp, HubSpot, SendGrid, and Constant Contact to keep customers up to date with what's going on and different ways to send out new content. And then Google Docs is another good tool because everyone can contribute and collaborate together. And then make sure to update to stay updated with popular social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. There's so many out there. And then a tip is to schedule your social media posts using HootSuite or Sprout Social or Social Bakers, because it takes up less time and it posts on social media for you. So it does the work, you just create the content. And then there's also many free and affordable resources and tools out there available to enhance your business with this new environment. And then number 7, explore new opportunities. So experiment with new types of content like videos. You can do how-to videos, product demos, internal excerpts. And a lot of things now are going digital. So, and many people are always online. So you can do that, as well as creating blogs too for your website. And then engage on social media platforms. So you can do polls, Q&As, contests. And this creates excitement and drives customers to your business. And then you can spend more time listening to feedback, not only from your customers, but from influencers and competitors as well, to stay ahead of the competition in your industry during this time and to implement new ideas that you haven't thought of yet. And then get your customers engaged with creating new and exciting content on these social media platforms. And then top tips for your business, I'm going to hand it back over to Nelson.
Thanks, Morgan. So go to the next slide for me, Amanda. Okay, so some of the things that you can do that are kind of no-brainers, but it's kind of stuff that you go, oh yeah, I should have done that, but I hadn't done it yet. So during times like these, make sure that your basic blocking and tackling on your social media sites are kept up to date. So a lot of people's business hours have changed, yet the business hours that's on their social media page is still the same as it was before the pandemic. Set up some goals, for your social media during this time. I heard a good quote the other day, and it was like, imagine for a second that you're in the year 2022 and you remember the time we're going through right now. What do you wish you would have done in your business during that time that you didn't do? And so it's important to set your goals. This can be looking to gain more followers. Do you want to stay connected to your loyal customers? Are you just trying to get the word out about what it is that you can offer in terms of a product or a service? Are you trying to be educational to your clientele? Are you going for engagement? Are you trying to be informational? It's important to set your goals and write them down, so it's easier to come up with an action plan on how to reach those goals. One of the easy ways to do this is to develop a calendar for your social media. And so think about the year as a whole. Obviously the holiday, what are you going to post? Let's say you have three social media pages and you got to keep the content going to them. What are you going to post? Well, you put your calendar down, the holidays are covered. Go ahead and fill in all the holidays. National days of mention. I have 2 golden retrievers, so this would be like Golden Retriever Day. You have anniversaries of your business, maybe anniversaries of your employees. Figure out what those are and fill those in on this annual calendar you're developing. Team member highlights. Let's say when Morgan graduates with her master's in digital marketing this summer, we'll probably put something up on our pages that say, hey, this woman's really smart and she works for us. So unofficial holidays. So did anybody know that this week is this month is National Barbecue Month? I like barbecue. So, there you fill that in on your calendar, your days. Make sure you schedule days in your month. Like some of our clients, we have motivational Mondays. Obviously, everybody's heard of Taco Tuesday. Earlier this week, we had Earth Day and Administrative Professionals Day on the same day. And so, again, put this in your calendar so you can make sure that you have something going on across all your channels every single day. And then cross promote your social media profile. So you got a Twitter, make sure you're telling the people on Facebook about your Twitter page so they'll go there and like that too. It's important to interact with your followers and your clients. So if somebody direct message or messages you and you don't get back to them for 3 days, that's bad. You want to earn that. You want to earn that little badge they give you for getting back to people within an hour or two. So that's important, and people really like that from the people that they do business with. You want to share real-time updates. So I saw one the other day, not a local restaurant, but a restaurant over in Tampa that's closed. And so he did a Facebook Live, and he's walking around inside the empty restaurant, and he's showing you, hey, when we get back in business, let me show you what I got new for you that's coming. Is really cool and something that he could do really easily. So let's see what else I want to cover on this slide. Instagram's the same way. You can do the Instagram Live. Make sure you share snippets of good news. The other thing is, so almost every organization has a Google review or something like that out there. Facebook reviews on their business. Are they 5 stars? Are they 1 star? If you get a 4 or a 5 star, make sure you post that to your social media channels, quoting the review. So I just want to make sure everybody saw this. This is a really good view, and thank you to whomever wrote it. Blast it out there. That somebody may not ever see it on your reviews page. So put it out there as a post on your social media pages. All right. So make sure you're using Google Analytics to measure your social media. That was my bride. Say hi to Dot. She's home from the hospital. There's only like 32 people on this video call, Dot.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
All right, so let's go on the next. Make sure you're using Google Analytics. That's where I left off. Okay, so website tips. All right, on your website. I didn't know this stat, and I don't know that I agree with it or not, but 46% of consumers say that a website's a main factor in establishing trust for a business. And that may or may not be true. I don't know much about how they gathered that data, but I will say this. If you go to a business who has a cruddy website, you have a different feeling about them than when you go to a business that has a killer website. So it makes sense to have a killer website. Things like your hours updated, your contact information doesn't have the manager there that was 3 managers ago. Online ordering is good. And certainly in today's situation with the corona, if there's something special going on, have them do a pop-up or a headline on your page that says, hey, here's what we're doing. It's a little bit different during all this. Online payments, Morgan talked about that. Those are fairly easy to set up. And then update your listings on Google. You'd be surprised how many people have not updated their hours on Google. Let's see. Oh, this goes without saying. Content. You need to be posting to your pages every day. If you're not, you should. And then the last thing for your website, blogs are really important. Blogs are really important. I don't care if you're in a really, really boring business. We have a client that sells cement. Okay. And we have to write a blog every week. I don't, Jessica does, and her minions who work for her, that they have to write something interesting about cement every week. All right. So that's a bit of a challenge, but you don't do the blog necessarily for about cement. You're doing the blog to encode those keywords into it for Google searches about cement services in our area. That's why you do the blog, and you got to keep the blog rolling, is so when Google spiders search your website, you're going to get some credibility. And I'm telling you, that's the number one by far. Nobody's even a close second thing you can do to improving your organic search results on Google is have a blog, keep it up, make sure that those keywords that you think are important are being woven into the content of that blog. And then lastly, on this slide, what I'll say is it's important to have an e-newsletter sign up on your website. Think about it. Anybody that gives you their email address, they want to be a customer, all right? They want to buy from you. They want to be engaged with your company. And so you get their email address. Now you have a subscriber, and then at least monthly, send them a note, tell them what's going on. If you got anything special going on, include that, make it attractive, and spend some time doing that. But make sure you've got to sign up for my e-newsletter somewhere on your website, and there's an easy way for them to do that. Go on to the next slide, please. All right, so here's 3 examples of local businesses that do it right. Okay, so Bill Castillo is a State Farm agent up at Champions Gate. All right, State Farm, what's their slogan? Like a good neighbor, right? All right, so what's Bill doing here? Look at these 3 posts that we've done for him in the last week. He's being a good neighbor. So he's telling people that they can send their 4th to 6th graders to a hurricane webinar, that Disney has reignited the Disney bedtime hotline. We found a video for him of a neighborhood up in the Davenport area that these people had shot a video. These things rock, all right? And he's being a good neighbor. And then on top of that, we will pay Facebook to put this into the news feeds of the people in the zip codes that he's targeting who also have an interest in insurance. Pretty cool way to do it. Go to the next one. Dodis Farm and Garden. One of my favorite clients, Bill Dodis, one of my favorite people. So Dodis Farm and Garden does not do competition with the big box stores like Lowe's and Home Depot based upon price. Here's what they do at Dodis. You go in, they're going to educate you, they're going to help you, you're going to walk out with what you're going to feel like when you walk out, that you have left with what you actually need to help whatever problem it is you have in your lawn or garden, or if you're buying feed, or if you're buying dog food for that matter. They're constantly educating. So you can see here on these posts that, you know, they're using repurposed content to be educational content on their social media about people that are really into their garden, and they've got a lot of customers that fall into that. Dodis does not have any Facebook ad budget, meaning we don't put any dollars towards Facebook boosting this and putting it into the news feeds of other people. All of the traffic that Dodis gets is 100% organic, and he gets a ton. Okay, each of these posts had over 1,300 users look at each one, all organic. All right, yeah, wow. I mean, they've been in business for 60 years. They've got that going for them, but also there's a certain method to the madness on what we're putting out there for them. The other thing I'll mention is Dodis does not have a website. He feels that his Facebook page is his website. And when you Google Farm and Garden in Winter Haven, what comes up is Dodis Farm and Garden Facebook page. So let's go to the next one. Oh, no, you skipped one. Go back one. All right. Nope. There you go. Okay. So we talked about some of those would-be boring cement companies. We've actually got a number of those types of clients, and we love them all. One of them is a safety company down in Mulberry, and they do safety training for industrial type businesses, and then they sell safety equipment. So it's kind of a dry topic. And certainly we talk about the training that they're doing in their social media posts, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn for those guys. But we also wanted to have some fun with it. So we developed a mascot, and it's Safety Simon, and he's a safety dummy, and he gets into all kinds of odd situations, and it's fun, and the people like it. And he gets a lot of page likes whenever we do Safety Simon stuff, and that works just like a subscription. Now you're going to flow through their news feed without having to pay for it. So that's another good tactic, particularly if your product or service is something that's important but not necessarily all that sexy. You can do this as a solution. So creative ideas sell. What's next? Oh, that's it. That's our last slide. So our office is located right on the park, facing the fountain in downtown Winter Haven. Nobody's there right now, obviously, but that's where we're at. And so if we can help you, come and find us. We'd be happy to help.
Thank you, Nelson, Morgan. Thank you so much. I know that we have some questions in the chat room, and Karen's going to pull them together. I had a couple of questions. I'm frantically, when you got a delay when you asked for a new slide because I was writing notes. Do you have any tips on things not to do, on things you should avoid doing on your social media pages?
So, we've all seen it. May have had it happen to us. You have a troll, go on and start commenting negatively on something. Obviously, any use of profanity or anything like that, you just delete them. But if it's a legitimate complaint about something, what I recommend is you respond to it once with the facts, not argumentative, but with the facts. Thank them for letting you know about what the problem was, and invite them to contact you directly so you can resolve the issue. What will happen when you do that? And if they respond back, I always say respond once and then let it go. If they respond back, you just let it go. The other thing is you will have your fans. I've seen this happen numerous times. You'll have your fans come out and defend you. So they'll come out and say, that place really isn't all that bad. Maybe you ought to just give the manager a call and maybe they can work it out for you. So I've seen that happen on a number of cases, but getting in a virtual online argument with a customer is not the look you want to have.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I agree, for sure.
Anything else we should avoid doing? I think we've all seen some pretty car crash things on people's social media, and we've all sat there and gone, oh no, did they really do that? But
I happen to work with a really incredible grammar Nazi. Her name's Jessica Wilcox, and she's on this call. And so one of the things that will drive me nuts, and her and Morgan, I'm sure too, is when somebody puts a post up and they've got misspellings in it. It's something little, it's an honest mistake, but it just makes you look unprofessional. Things like that, the other thing, and we talked about this, make sure you populate your profile. Every part of your profile that you can populate it. I mean, make sure that when they find your Facebook page, that there's a lot of information on it, and you got to keep populating the photos. But things like, like we keep coming back to, your hours and your events and your calendar and your contact information and all that stuff. You'd be surprised how many business Facebook pages that you go to. It looks like the owner or the manager of the business set up their Facebook page and left it 3 years ago. So they have one, but they really don't have one. So you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, that's maybe almost worse than having none at all, right?
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Karen, I can't get to your thing to unmute you, but if you can unmute yourself, I know we have some comments in the chat room. If you have any questions that you can air.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I just have to mention that I'm also a UCF alumni. Go Knights. But it looks like Debbie Groover is the only person that's put anything in the chat at this point, thanking Nelson for his time today and giving the Dodis a way to go for all of their well-known activity there at Dodis.
Cool. Yeah, I got to tell you, Bill Dodie is one of my most favorite people on the planet. And when I started to see Facebook traffic for Dodie's, I actually called Nelson and I'm like, this is amazing. I know you have to be behind it, because Bill was so, he wouldn't have an email, he wouldn't have a website, and it's just phenomenal to see. I did make notes on videos, and I know that several of you have already submitted, but seeing that the Chamber have started a little hey, did you know 15-second video that they're asking members to submit, and we can get out there. And I got to tell you guys, I'm seeing, and Nelson, I'll throw to you and Morgan as professionals in the field, but we're seeing a heck of a lot of traffic to a video clip as opposed to just a flat post.
Video is great. Video is awesome. Even it doesn't have to be, professionally produced at all, Yeah. So we discovered that actually, we just talked about Dodie. So once a month, Bill does a lawn and garden tips talk. He's standing, in the store. He's got his red and white checkered shirt on. The one I'm talking about, the Perina shirt. And he for 2 minutes, he talks about what you need to do this month in your lawn and garden. The first time we did this, we shot it with one of those cameras that's about the size of a cigarette box. It's not even as good as what you can shoot with your phone. and of course the likes and comments and shares and all that went off the chart for Bill. And here it is, I think he's been a customer for 8 or 9 years now. He's still doing his monthly tips. Video's great, and I recommend that everybody do it. Now, I will say this about video: have your plan. What are you going to say? Have a script. Don't just do it off the cuff. All right. Yeah. You want to say something to people, particularly we're talking about business that they would find interesting and useful and something worthwhile. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one of the reasons we kept ours to 15-second slots, because if not, you can just ramble around and as all of you know, I can definitely do that. So Morgan, I had a question, and I'll come back because I know some more comments coming on here, but you talked on one of your tips there about avoiding frictions, and this may be my ignorance, but I don't know, I didn't know it's the first time I've heard that term. So what did you mean by that?
So for social distancing, the way I'm kind of taking it as, if a customer, let's say you want to meet with a customer, but they don't really feel comfortable meeting in person, you could do Zoom and stuff like this, just kind of making the needs for both people. Just kind of with social distancing as well. I don't know if Nelson, you want to add to that.
It's just, when you go through your buying cycle, anything that could be a hiccup, get rid of it, smooth it over. I was on a call. We handle 6 car dealerships across three states, and I was on this car dealer's call, and they were talking about, especially now when you're trying to buy a car under these conditions, you have to eliminate any friction point that a potential buyer could have, because they with all the stress, they don't need much right now to have them turn around and walk out the door. So just think about the friction points that come up during the buying cycle.
That's a good point. And I think and again, Morgan alluded to this in her points too, but we have to think differently to how we thought at the beginning of March, even about these things. And what if we can't assume that everybody's going to just want to walk back into your store or want to have somebody come to your house. So how else can we pivot our businesses, and using the tools like Zoom and things of that nature, and the little videos, and I love to see how creative people are being. But Karen, what other questions do we have coming up in the chat?
So we have a shout out to Nelson. He has been great advising me and handling my email newsletter blasts, and that's from Cynthia Ringanese.
Oh, thank you, Cynthia.
And then Holly has asked, do you recommend posting more videos instead of regular content posts with an image?
Good question.
Both.
A good mix of both.
Yeah, I'd go all of the above. But yeah, if you can do the video stuff, those get a lot of love. If you don't have the time to do as much of that, then at least a regular post. So it just depends on if you can upgrade the post for that day to something that's a video and that's meaningful and well done, then do it. And then, put that in on your calendar that we talked about. From a tactical standpoint, developing that calendar is probably one of the most important things you can do. Yeah,
I think rather than having like 29 posts on one day, schedule it and then nothing for 3 weeks, scheduling things out so it's regular. Is that something that's important too?
Yeah, you can use, Morgan touched on this. There's quite a few vendors out there that can help you with that. One of them is HootSuite. Social Bakers does it too, but you can develop all your posts. You can go to their app and you can schedule your post to come out at any day and time that you determine. And that's a really good way to manage your social media content in terms of when you're broadcasting it.
Cool. If you do that, can you go back in? Let's say you'd scheduled out, we're going to go away from here, and we schedule out our calendar for the next 6 months. Can you go back in then, if something happens, can you go back in and pull a post from going out? Because a friend of mine just had a really tone deaf post from a past employer, but clearly it was something that was scheduled prior to COVID, and they didn't pull. I'm going to guess somebody's got in trouble this morning, but they didn't pull the post. Are you able to do that with those types of apps?
Yeah, Jess, if I'm wrong, wave your hands or something. But I think you as long as it hasn't posted yet, you can go in there and pull your creative, and then even if it has posted, just go to the site itself and delete it from your page.
Yeah, and that is a good point too. Just with the little typos, I've got to tell you the number of times I hit post, and then it pops up, and I'm like, oop, I missed an apostrophe, or I did this, or I'll hit edit very often. So and I will tell you, if you want to avoid doing this, I know that it's a time thing, and many of our chamber members work with Nelson and his team at Central Florida Media Group, and they can take care of all of this for you. We very much appreciate you coming in today and telling us how to do this. But it's like a lot of things. Sometimes it's just better to work with the professionals and get it done properly and take that one job off your hands. So Karen, I want to just, before we kind of close out, I want to make sure that we have covered everybody's questions and comments.
The only other comment I had was Debbie Groover was asking how she can participate in our Hey, Did You Know? So I'm going to send her the information for that. If there's anybody else that is not aware and would like some information, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to send you the information.
Yeah. If I can film a Hey, Did You Know right from my balcony, anybody can do it, trust me. Me and an iPhone is all that took. So it's a great tool. Okay, did we cover everything else? If anybody's got, I'll give you another second here to put any other questions that you have in there. Nelson's contact details are all on here, so are Morgan's. Reach out to them if you want to work with them to get this done professionally and thoroughly as it should be done. If there's anything chamber-wise, you all have my number and email, and Karen's too. And I want to just close out by saying thank you, Nelson. I love the byline on here, by the way, 2018 Small Business of the Year. Yes, you were. and one of the first chamber presidents that I worked under too. So super cool continuing to work with you, Morgan. It's great to meet you. We can't wait to give you a proper welcome into the office when you finally move in downtown with us. But thank you both, and thank you, Jessica, too. Everybody at Central Florida Media Group are wonderful to work with. So I want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend. Please stay safe, and we will see you all on Monday.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.